Welcome back for part 2 of this Steve Saunders special interview. We pick up where Steve left off last week. He talked about his first season at Town, which resulted in relegation, and follows up now with a bit better a season where Town got a great cup run. Back to Steve. He had a good season overall, finished 9th, but you had a great cup run that year. What do you remember about the cup run?
Well, every game really. I mean, I always loved playing in the FA Cup. It was one of those games that come around every now and again, and it was special. Do you know what I mean? To play in the FA Cup, you could play anybody.
Yeah. There's always an atmosphere around it, wasn't there?
Yeah, we played some good teams. You know what I mean? And we just seemed to have a buzz about the club, a buzz about the town. Everything felt right. Do you know what I mean? And confidence in the team. The players were enjoying playing the games, and I don't know. It was just one of those times that you thought you were unbeatable, especially in the cup run.
Yeah, and you took out a reasonably big scalp. I know they were low down, sort of in the leagues at the time, but you Wolves first round. And if I remember rightly, that was a John Cockrell corner that went straight in.
Yeah.
You don't see that often.
No. Next.
It was Wolves, Rotherham, Middlesbrough, then Reading.
Oh, Rotherham.
Reading. And I seem to remember you scoring against Reading, but it was actually Northey. But you did score in the Reading game, didn't you?
No, I did score, and I scored an own goal.
I know. I thought, I'm sure he scored in that game. And I looked up the video, and I see Northey score the goal. I'm thinking, well, who scored the... Oh, God, he scored an own goal.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not mention that.
Game. You know, it was a crazy game, actually, because it wasn't an intentional own goal, obviously, but I got pushed. I went to clear the ball.
Yeah.
And the lad shoved me in the back, and I just fell into the ball and volleyed it right into the top corner.
Mm.
And I just remember looking at the ref and going, "You must have seen that."
Yeah.
And he's looking at me, and obviously where he was stood, he didn't see the push.
He's looking at you thinking, "Great finish."
On the TV that night, and you could actually clearly see he pushed me on the TV in the game that night. But it stood, and then I think I went up. I actually set up the goal for Northey.
You did.
And
then there was a replay, which was a midweek at Elm Park, which is an old atmospheric ground, and that was 1-1 and into extra time. Do you recall the winner there?
Was it Jobbers?
Yes, yeah. Jobbers rounded the keeper.
Yeah. That was a great goal as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've actually seen that a few times on YouTube. You know what I mean? That goal. When they put it on the post on the Grimsby Town thing. So
yeah. I was there. I was there that night, and the one thing that sticks with me with that goal is he rounds the keeper, but he seems to take an age to put it in the net. And all you can see behind the goal is the Town fans bobbing up and down, ready to leap in the air, hoping to Christ he's going to put it in. But yeah, and then you got.
Fortunately, you did.
You got to crown that off with a big tie against Wimbledon, who were big at the time, and you got to face the Crazy Gang.
Yeah, the cup holders at the time.
They were,
yeah. So, and again, that was a mad weekend, really. I think I remember on the Friday at one point they told us the game was off.
It was pretty ropey, wasn't it? The weather, it was wet and boggy, wasn't it? The pitch.
Yeah, and we were all sort of in our head that there was no game.
Mm.
But I think it was just their tactics, the way they were.
They'd do anything, wouldn't they? They did cold showers, wet floors.
Yeah. And that's what it was like when we got there.
Mm.
We walked in. I'm sure the changing room was all wet, and it just a place. So, and then we went out on the pitch, and apparently they'd had the fire brigade down all flooding the pitch even more.
Yeah. Ironically, we're talking about that in the week that Wimbledon's pitch has been underwater again this week, and it now resembles a golf course. So what was it like facing the Crazy Gang? Were they as crazy on the pitch with all their antics as people would have you believe?
Yeah, they were, and to be honest, it was one of the things you'd heard about, but you still didn't expect to happen. But I just remember lining up with Wise a few times on the wing.
Yeah.
And he was flicking my ears and going wing nut. Do you know what I mean? And
just to get inside
really?
your head, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I just kept looking at him and saying, "Are you really doing that?"
Yeah.
It was, well, and it was going on all over the pitch. All the lads had a story to tell coming off the pitch afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, it was one of them games really when you think we could have won it. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, there was 12,000 there, and I think about 8,000 from Grimsby, weren't they? It was
that's right.
absolutely
Yeah,
mad day, and that was Rise of the Haddock as well, wasn't it? Harry Haddock made his debut.
He was, yeah. I remember coming out on the pitch and just looking around the ground and thinking, "Wow."
Yeah.
And I was trying to find my girlfriend, who's my wife now. There's no chance. You know what I mean? It was just a massive fish everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when Big Keith put the ball in the net with his head early on, I just thought this could be a great afternoon. Yeah. Everybody went berserk. It was a mad day.
Oh no, yeah. And I think we had 2 goals disallowed.
Yeah.
If I remember.
Yeah, it was a mad day. There was definitely some controversy down there. But, yeah, I remember that great day.
Yeah.
Considering you've outnumbered the cup holders at home with your fans, and you've made a good account of yourself from the 4th division in that space. It's probably the highlight of the season, wasn't it? The cup run.
I think so, definitely, yeah. And especially for the fans, that we sort of give them something to cheer about as well. Do you know what I mean?
And we still travel well. We still get a good following away, even at the level we're at now.
Yeah, I've noticed. When I went to Tranmere, there was a few there as well. Do you know what I mean? I was surprised.
Yeah, I've got a friend on the Wirral, so we regularly get to the Tranmere away game as well. So it's a bit of a rivalry, that one, but a friendly one.
Yeah.
And
I went. Go on.
No, sorry, go
on. I came to Blundell Park with the Justin and that.
Yeah.
It was a Crew game last season.
All right.
Yeah, and they still make a lot of noise, the fans.
Yeah.
I noticed.
We still moan a lot as well, but that's because we care.
Yeah, it seems to be from a different area of the ground now, though, from when I was there. Do you know what I mean? Where the noise comes from, but the main bulk of the fans making the noise.
And it's all Seater now, of course. So after the Taylor report and all that stuff, we were one of the because we had one of the smaller grounds, but in the what is now the Championship, we were forced to go all Seater, whereas a lot of the grounds the teams were playing against now still got standing. So it's a bit strange, but we've got a capacity of about 8,000-9,000, and we've got 5,500 season ticket holders. And when I think back to the Buckley years, we were playing in front of 4,000 or 5,000 then, and you think where it was in the football, it doesn't seem to make sense, does it?
No. Strange that.
Yeah.
I don't understand it myself, but
yeah. So you had a good couple of years at Town. Certainly eventful with the relegations, the cup runs, and all the things going on. And you had a relatively short career. You only went on then to Scarborough in the league for another 23, 25 games, something like that. How did you leaving the club come about? Was it to do with the contract stuff again at the end? Was it kind of moving on time?
Yeah. Well, I spoke to Alan Buckley about my contract again. I asked for the 2-year, and he said, "Right, leave it with me. I'll speak to the chairman, and then come in and speak with me and the chairman on the Monday." So I said, "Okay, fine, yeah." Now, at the time, as I was saying, you have to think as a player, you're on a time scale of sorting your contract out or finding another club.
Yeah.
And at that time, clubs are allocating positions to players who have been released or out of contract, or do you know what I mean? So I was on a time scale myself, and I went in on the Monday and spoke to Alan Buckley, and the chairman wasn't there. And I said "Where's the chairman? Is he not here?" He said, "Oh, the chairman's gone on holiday for 2 weeks." And I just remember that sinking feeling and thinking, right, okay, you either don't want me and you've got other plans, you know what I mean? And I just didn't feel wanted as a player, do you know what I mean? So
either way up,
and
it wasn't priority enough for you need to start looking.
Yeah, and it was a case of I've got a couple of weeks now to sort myself out, do you know what I mean? And I wasn't going to get the contract, obviously. I would, if I'd have waited another 2 weeks, it possibly would have, well, I'm not sure the answer would have been any different, do you know what I mean? So I decided to put myself on the transfer list, but it was put out in the media that I wanted to leave the club, which really annoyed me at the time because I couldn't speak to the media. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not allowed to in that sense. Because you could end up getting fined by the club. So I was in a position where I was having to just read things that were in the paper about me that weren't really true.
And essentially having to suck it up, basically.
Yeah, and it was a case of, right, you pretty much do as we... And in those days, you tied to the club. As long as they'd offered me the same contract, which was a 1-year contract, I was tied to Grimsby Town. Because it was way before the Bosman ruling, and they knew that. Do you know what I mean? So, and at the time, I know I'd had clubs interested in me during the season, because I remember Don O'Riordan telling me that Bournemouth and Harry Redknapp. But I remember Buckley getting me in his office and telling me if I tried to speak to Bournemouth that it'd be the last game I'd play for any football club.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So,
brutal.
So there would things go on in football that, again, you just have to put up with, and especially when in those days you were tied to a club.
I think from our perspective, from a fan's point of view, it hasn't tarnished your exit. Didn't tarnish your affection from the fans. So that's good news, and it's great you've been able to set the record straight on here. So it's nice for you to be able to do that. And you went on to Scarborough. Who was in charge of Scarborough at the time? Is that after Neil Warnock, or is that Neil Warnock time?
Yeah, it was just after Neil Warnock, Colin Morris took over.
Right.
And it was ironic, really, because it was the club that I kept down that season because I scored the away goal, a controversial actually, when it hit me on the shoulder on the halfway line, and I ran and I chipped the Ian side, and it kept them. They needed to win the game to get promotion.
Yeah.
And then Colin Morris contacted the club and knew I was out of contract. He went to the tribunal. They had to pay a small fee for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise it was only later that there was a clause in the contract between the clubs that if I played so many games for Scarborough, that they'd have to pay Grimsby. I think it was 50 or 100,000 extra on the fee. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So is that what stopped you playing more for Scarborough then? Do you think?
Yes. Well, I didn't know at the time. It was when Ray McHale, after 3 months of being there, Ray McHale took over. He was Colin Morris's assistant manager, and again he pretty much ousted Colin Morris from his position.
Yeah.
And he got me in the office and he said that he wanted to get rid of me, offload me, because I was on too much money.
Wow.
And I said, I've only been at the club, like 3 or 4 months. And I was being told that. I said, I'm on a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
So it became a position where he wasn't very nice to me, put it that way.
And you often hear that with players, don't you? There's a few examples.
Yeah, he used to try and he tried to make me train with the kids. He'd say things to me like, "Would you train on the beach? The ball would go in the sea," and he'd say, "Go and get the ball, Steve."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You wouldn't allow it these days, would you?
No, and I remember the one person who stood up to him was Ian Ironside, the goalkeeper Scarborough. He said, because he said to me, he actually turned to him and said, I can fine him for that because he's not gone for the ball. I can fine you for that. And he and I inside just looked at him and said, Ray, do you know what I mean? You can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was the PFA person, Ian, do you know what I mean? He said, Ray, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it became a position where I played, but I didn't enjoy playing at all. Do you know what I mean? Well, not for Ray McHale anyway.
Yeah. There's a great podcast somewhere. I forget which one it is. I think it might be Under the Cosh, where Peter Swan talks about his relationship with Neil Warnock when he wanted out of Plymouth, I think it was, and it's hilarious. But he must have gone through a rough time. But he was of the sort of character. He just sort of made it as hard for Neil Warnock as he was making it for him. So you don't realise this stuff as a fan, though.
Oh, really and to be honest, that's what you have to do. You have to dig your heels in yourself. And it was a case of I got the PFA in, and they come and threaten Ray McHale. Do you know what I mean? And say you can't do things like this. Do you know what I mean? And there was lots of other things that I probably won't say on here. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't a very nice period in my life. And I had actually just bought a house in Scarborough, in Humberby, quite near Filey.
Nice part of the world.
Do you know what I mean? 2 years of my contract, and then after the first year, he more or less threatened me I'd never play another game for the club.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a fallout.
Yeah.
They were going on tour, but it wasn't a tour. It was just a lads' week away. Do you know what I mean? And I had a family wedding, and I said, "Well, I'm not going. It's my holiday time now. I'm allowed this time." Do you know what I mean? He said, "No." He said, "If you don't go," he says, "you'll never play another game for the club." And I said, "Well, fine. That's fine."
Yeah.
I didn't play another game for the club actually, because I ended up leaving the club, and I gave up a year of my contract to leave just to get out of there.
Yeah.
So.
And what did you do after that? Because I've saying in looking at the sort of where you finished up, there's reference to you playing for Runcorn, but without much of any further information. And I've unearthed something from '93 where you scoring a goal against West Brom on TV for Halifax.
Yeah, well.
So what happened in between?
I left. I went to Runcorn. I was there for more or less 2 seasons, and actually, the standard of football in the conference at the time was as good as, or if not better than what I'd been playing at. I couldn't actually believe the level of football and the standard that, obviously a lot of players had great jobs and they were making a living
as well,
out of the football as well. Do you know what I mean? So it was a no-brainer for them. But I hadn't realised that, and it was a time where I'd made the decision that I wanted to go back and do a university degree. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously get something for when football finished. And I had offers from Bath City and a few other clubs in the conference, but Runcorn was pretty much near to Warrington as he could be, and then
it's
my
about as near as
that I took up was at John Moores University, Liverpool.
That's
so
perfect.
Yeah, everything fell into place for me, and the first season, I actually got Vauxhall Conference Player of the Year, Match Player of the Year. So, and that was when Martin O'Neill come in for me when he was at Wycombe Wanderers, and I went to talk to them actually.
Yeah.
But he couldn't break in those days. They have sort of wage things
like a structure
you can't break. So and I wasn't asking him to break the wage structure, but what I was being paid at Runcorn and the signing on fees that I got at the time, they couldn't match. You know what I mean? So even a club like Wycombe, who that season got promoted to the Football League, so I declined. I didn't go to Wycombe, and I went to Altrincham instead.
So you'll always be able to say that Martin O'Neill couldn't afford you, Steve. That's how it worked out, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's one manager. Yeah, I could say.
And then, so you went to Altrincham, which I couldn't find anywhere. How long were you there?
I was there for just over a season, and then I was in a position where I enjoyed playing for Altrincham, but at that time it was a bit strange. I'd started to get some stutterings with my heart, and it worried me at the time. And I had quite a few tests done and everything, and my heart started to race during games, really kick off. So I finished the season, and then Peter Ragg at Halifax Town, he several seasons before, he said one day when he was at which club was he at? And he said to me, one day you'll play for me. And I just remember laughing. And he offered me to go to Halifax Town, and they'd just come out the league, and obviously wanted to push to get back into the league. Yeah. So I was one of two players who were non-contract really players. You know what I mean? For Halifax, they were all full-time pro still.
Yeah.
And the other lad was Elton Edwards, and he was from Warrington as well. So,
right. Well, Warrington lads together.
I have a travelling partner. Yeah. And then during the season, I had a great season, really. Up until the November, I think I scored 10 goals.
Yeah.
We drew West Brom in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But during this period, again, I was getting the heart problems during games, and the occasional game I had to come off because my heart was racing that much.
Yeah. Did you get to the bottom of that then?
Yeah, I mean, it was after we played the West Brom game and I scored the winner, and we knocked West Brom out the FA Cup.
I found that one yesterday before speaking to you. I found it's a nice goal, that.
Oh, did you? Yeah. And then I played one more game at Telford, and I'd been told by the hospital where I was having the test done to wear a monitor during the game. I had to ask permission from the referee, and he allowed me.
Yeah.
But that after the game, I was rushed in. I was at university on the Monday, and they phoned the university and said, "Tell Mr. Saunders not to do anything exertion-wise, and come straight to Manchester Royal."
Wow, must have been scary.
I was rushed in. Yeah, and they took me in, and I had an angiogram done, heart biopsies on my heart, everything. Every test under the sun, really.
Yeah.
And they told me that I had a strange, unusual heart, but they couldn't actually tell me what the problem was. And then they told me I had sarcoidosis, which is a disease that can attack the organs of the body, and possibly with my heart, I would probably have to stop playing. And I didn't kick a football for 4 years after that.
That's quite a sad way to end. But nice to hear. Is your health good now? Are you keeping well at the moment?
Yes, and well, to be honest, the sarcoidosis that they told me that I had, when I had further tests, there was nothing conclusive to say that I had this condition. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that you get from the environment.
Yeah.
So I've played football until I was 51 after the 4 years that I missed playing local football. I had a few stutters with the heart, but I think once it stopped playing at the level I was playing at, it didn't exert the heart as much.
Yeah.
And the specialist I seen in London at the time told me that I had an extra lead in my heart, and I would need an ablation to solve the problem, or stop the strenuous exercise
Yeah.
to that level. And
Yeah.
so it was a case of just, I didn't have the ablation, but I just carried on playing local football at a level that was probably okay for my heart to cope with. Really.
Cope with, yeah. Oh, good to hear that you managed to get off. So what did you do for work after football? How did so footballers nowadays, a lot of them don't have to work after they finish playing, but unfortunately, in your day, it was a bit different.
Yeah. Well, I finished my degree I did a B.Ed honours degree in primary education, and then I did 21 years as a primary teacher. I became assistant head for 6 years, but I was never wanting to be a head teacher. And I retired from teaching in 2018.
Wow.
And my wife, well, we set up a business 14 years ago, my wife and I, that she's been running herself with other people, which I actually run with my wife now.
Excellent.
Which is preschool after school care.
Yeah. And you're still in Warrington?
So I just do that. I still live in Warrington, yes. Yeah.
Like I say, and a follower of the Wolves. You like watching the rugby league?
Yeah, I do follow Wellington Wolves now, and looking forward to the Saints game this weekend. Hopefully, get to the grand final this year, maybe win it.
Oh, it's always our year, isn't it? Is it not always our year?
It's always our year.
It's always our year.
Well, I think it's every other team that says that, but we do actually say it's always our year.
We have to say it to own. We have to own it, so it can't be used against us, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so, Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you for coming on our what is a fledgling podcast. It's fairly new, and getting great guests on like yourself will help us along the way. So we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Right, cheers, Dave.